Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be working on Project White Lightning, another installment. We're going to be addressing the issue with the spark plugs. As you can see, as I stated in the previous video, this thing's got the P heads on it. Of course, it's got full-length headers, and the issue is you cannot get a full-size socket on all of the plugs. Now you can get them on a few, but unfortunately you just can't get them on all of them. Just the way they're designed, the way they go into the head, they're almost straight in, as most of you probably already know. But this one down here is completely dead. That's a complete dead hole. Figured that out in the last video. It's only running off about 7, maybe 6. So what we're gonna do, so we're going to take regular old 5/8. We're going to take the death wheel, cut a little off of it, and then see if we can use an open end 19 or 3/4 millimeter wrench to get in there and hopefully get those plugs out. So let's head on to the garage and get this socket cut off. Alright, got the socket, none in my vise, got the death wheel. Safety third. Go ahead and see what kind of damage we can do on this thing. Alright, new day. We got White Lightning part 2. Got her cleaned up a little bit. She still got some tree barnacles growing on her. But for the most part, as you can see, she cleaned up pretty good. Got her drug around here to the driveway. We can actually do some work on it. Got a new set of plugs. Got a new custom ground down spark plug socket. So let's go ahead and get these plugs tackled and see if she'll run halfway decent. Parts store didn't have any of the 764s that came in it. Apparently there's a new design on the 764. It's the 104. Really the only difference is this is a half thread, as you can see. This is a full thread. Same length, same everything. It's just the difference is in the thread length. Got the new plugs installed. Let's see what she does. Slocking the key a couple of times. Definitely back on all 8. running for a few minutes. She's warming up. As you can see, the idle's leveled out. She's idling smooth, charging. Got good oil pressure. I'm gonna get rid of this monster tech. This thing was in it when I bought it. I was into it back then, but now it's there's really no need in having that. I ain't really gonna be racing this thing. It's just gonna be a street car. Project White Lightning. She's been off the road 7 years, 6, 7 years. She just needs a little more work. She'll be ready to run the streets. Good morning. Next day, working on Project White Lightning. Got her running yesterday, as you saw. So the next order of business is to change the oil in this thing. I've owned this car since 2016. Never changed the oil. Why? Because it barely had any miles on it. It's clean, if you can see that. But it smells like straight fuel. Alright, under the car. Not to worry, I'm supported by the best jack stands money can buy. Harbor Freight. Oh, nice. Probably the worst job I've ever done. Second drain bolt. So as far as the starter situation, there's a couple people commented about this thing, how the starter hangs. Here's a shot of the starter. So it does have a mini starter. As you can see, with them full-length headers, there's absolutely no room, hardly at all. It's extremely tight in there. I was trying to get a shot of exactly how it's wired. You can see right down there where that solenoid is. It's hard to get the camera in there. Right down there is where that solenoid is, and I can see where the negative is hooked up on there, and then over here is the one on the fender well. And of course, this hot one just goes from the battery straight over there. So on that, if anybody's got any tips or how to properly wire that so that starter's not hanging up. I mean, it pretty much does it every single time. Every time you go to start it, it'll crank, and then the starter will stay engaged for about 2 seconds, and then it kicks off. And I mean, it hasn't hurt it yet, but I'm afraid eventually it's going to burn that starter out. So I'm going to keep doing some research on it myself, see if I can figure out if there's something wired wrong, or maybe that's the wrong solenoid over there. I'm not sure. Another shot of this. Got the S terminal hooked up, and there's nothing on the bottom hooked up. And then I'm assuming most of these other wires are just alternator wiring, because this one does have the old style, factory style alternator on it still. While we're under here, I'll give you a shot of the exhaust, which I'm planning on changing this exhaust somewhat. I really would like to get rid of these long tube headers, but I don't know. I may stick with them because I really don't have the budget to replace it all the way back, because those BBK shorty style headers that I ran on my old Mustang, Those things that went up to like $400 for a pair. So I may be stuck with these for a while. From the full lengths into a Mustang LX pipe. So you got the coming off the header back. You got the Mustang LX pipe, and then this pipe goes back into these Flowmaster style mufflers, which this is the exhaust that was on it when I got the thing. They just had it dumped. I'm really looking to go in like maybe with the Spintech. I think it's the Super Street, Super Pro, whatever, 9000. It's like the really aggressive sounding mufflers. And then I want to run, of course, the factory tailpipes, which this car's never had. Stainless factory tailpipes all the way out the back. Same thing with the hood. I want to get rid of this big old freaking impractical, in my application, 6-inch cowl hood. Maybe go with a 2-inch cowl. I don't know if a factory style hood would clear with this thing running these taller valve covers, and they got that spacer on there. I don't know. I mean, it may. I'm gonna have to research that and see if just a factory style hood would clear that. Kind of want to go for the sleeper effect. Whoever had this thing, they were going for more race car. I mean, obviously when they built this motor, that's kind of where they were heading in the direction with this car. But for whatever reason, they parted ways with it. And then the fella I got it from, he just lost interest in it. He didn't really have time to fool with it. So I ended up trading a 98 black, triple black 98 GT. It's on a set of Pro Stars. Nice car. I missed that car. Kind of wish I wouldn't have got rid of it. But at the time, I really wanted a Fox body. And power-wise, this thing smoked that car. Also, on this wiring on this thing, I know this is the coolant temp sensor. Does anyone know what this went to? Everything on this car has been deleted. EGR, AC, etc, etc. I was just wondering, since these have the exact same connector, or style connector, if this is hooked up right, which I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. I know on this side, paying attention to this jerry-rigged up sensor, well, this is like some kind of air intake sensor that's supposed to fit into the, I guess, the GT40. Some of the GT40 intakes had like a port for it or something. Of course, this one does not, so it's just sort of tied up there. It's probably bad, probably doesn't even work. That's one thing I wanted to do with this thing, is probably go through all the sensors, replace the O2 sensors, replace maybe that air sensor, just anything that'll help this thing out a little bit. Another thing to note are these soft lines. This is a big oofta. I mean, these things are literally disintegrating. This car doesn't have a whole lot of rust on it, but there are a few spots. So if anybody has any experience with brake lines, how hard are these soft lines normally to replace? Because that's something that's definitely going to have to be addressed. Yeah, not as bad, but it's still not very good. Yeah, that's a lot of dirt, a lot of ground. Yeah, this side's not in much better shape. Not quite as bad, but it's basically the same. Same with this caliper. As you can see, it is completely just disintegrating. I also think in a future episode we're going to have to address these rotors. They're not looking too healthy. I think now we're going to try to tackle this nasty, disgusting interior. See if we can shine it up just a little bit anyway. Now the million-dollar question, does the glove box interior light work? Why, yes. Yes, it does. Pretty amazing. I'm gonna show y'all something on these seats. Take a look at this ghetto fabricated, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. This is literally the bracket and everything out of a Cobra. It's been like custom cut and welded and just hodgepodged all together. Like these seats, you can't, they don't adjust, they don't slide. I mean, you can see this is an electric seat. I mean, this ain't even made for this. And it's sitting angled up that way. I mean, yeah, I get it, you know, Cobra seats in my Mustang, you know, I'm cool, whatever, but just not practical, you know, just not practical. So yeah, these are probably gonna go eventually. That's down the list. We got to get this thing street worthy first and foremost. But yeah, that's definitely on the list, getting rid of these seats. But for now, we're gonna clean them up because you can see mildew. It's just, and the smell. Smells just lovely. So we're gonna clean these things. I mean, they do clean up. I'll give them credit there. Thankfully, on the driver's side, they got that one all the way back. So yeah, these seats are definitely gonna go here in the future. I think the next order of business is going to be to get rid of this gauge pod, which I do like having the big oil pressure gauge versus having the little dummy gauge up there on the dashboard. Water temp gauge doesn't even work. It's not even hooked up. I think it was in this car when I got it. Matter of fact, this gauge pod was in here too. I think I mentioned before this monster tack was in here. I'm going to get rid of that and probably just sell that thing, get a few bucks off of it. But other than that, try to get this thing back to more stockish looking, kind of going for that sleeper vibe, you know. A lot of people's probably watching this wondering, why in the heck are you worrying about cleaning the interior on that thing? You know, you should be worrying about getting it on the road, which I am, but that's pretty much for me called motivation. Because I've walked out so many times in my backyard and saw this thing sitting back there, leaves covered, dirt, grime, cutting grass, blowing dust all over it, just shaking my head thinking, man, what a waste. So I figured, hey, get it back going, make some videos on it, maybe it entertains a couple of people, you know, and it helps motivate me, and that's the main thing. That's why we literally pushed this thing around here, because I didn't even have the plugs for it at the time. I didn't even know if that was actually what was wrong with it. So we literally pushed this thing around here just so every day when I walk out the door, bam, it's right there in my driveway. And I mean, we didn't get a whole lot done on it today, but it's progress. And I'm gonna keep lining up more and more things to get done on it. Like I said, main thing on it right now is just getting this transmission straightened out. But it does have a sweet short throw shifter in it, which I absolutely love these short throw shifters. Once you go to a short throw shifter, like, you can never go back to a regular shifter, in my opinion. on these Mustangs. No matter what model, what year you got. You go to a short throw shifter, you'll never go back to another shifter. But anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I thank all 3 or 4 of y'all for watching, or however many. Like I say, we're just gonna do this thing in steps and just keep on hammering away at it. I'll post a link to the playlist for the other videos on this thing. If you haven't watched those, go check those out and just kind of see where we started with this thing. But we'll just go baby steps on it and go a little bit at a time, and eventually get this sucker back on the road, do some epic burnouts, and just have fun with it. That's what these cars are made for, just to have fun. But remember, ain't nothing to it but to do it. And until next time, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next video.